What's up? This is NickBabyLoveSalerno, and we're talking about Bagman 3, the never-ending story. And this is going to be about breaking music in the #1 breakout market, which is South Florida, with one of the top 5 stations in the country, WEDR 99.1 FM 99 Jams. They have associated with Hot 105 and 97.3, part of Cox Broadcasting. And one of my mentors, Jerry Russian, with everybody else. There's a story to tell because I've given the most gold and platinum records of anybody in history to that station, from Planet Rock to New Edition. And obviously started the Two Live Crew. A lot of the records, you know, because of the bookkeeping, never went gold. But they broke records like Boogie to the Bop to Rumors. I could go on all day. And of course, in the background, who is now the big boss, Phil Michaels. I can never prop you enough. Credible human being. Trubea in Spanish, you know, Phil Michaels Trubea. He's now the boss of all that. And they're still breaking records. Anyway, Bagman 3, the never-ending story. I dedicate this to my 2 daughters, Jody and my Shard in Boston, in New York, and of course my Shardy Carol Ann out there in Los Angeles. So in 1986 in Opelika, to make a long story short, because I was really hot in radio, especially in the Southeast, especially South Florida, WEDR 99.1 FM 99 Jams, Hot 105, Power 96, etc. I met, you know, Ian Lewis. We had an instant bond. I was there when he created the song. He wrote it on a napkin and stuff. Very, very Jamaican, just a beautiful human being with the whole thing, you know, because nobody knew then he was going to go on to become incredibly successful. And so, you know, I guess he did a little thing about me on that.
Nick, it's too long I haven't seen you, man. From the days of breaking records, he was the best promotion man in the world, Nick Sedona. One love, God bless you, Rastafari always.
And then since then, to make a long story short, he's got, you know, the group, you know, Inner Circle, legendary for years, very much involved in the community, reggae, anything that you can think of that. They just had Reggae Month. And of course, you know, his brother Roger, they run Circle House Studios. Anybody from Pitbull to, you know, I can name him, Little John. I could go on all day. Have recorded there. They got my man Mustafa, that is the cook. Machine, he used to work at 99 Jams in the sales department, and of course ended up with, you know, his son, BB. We call him BB. You can see the picture and all that. Lewis and all his stuff. He's just an incredible marketing genius and promoter, has put so many things together and so many songs. Example, Michael Sterling, who wrote Friends and Lovers, he's part of Inner Circle. I started his career, which we'll talk about at another time, but Michael, he wrote Friends and Lovers, and that was re-recorded, and very much involved with Inner Circle. And I mention him only because him and Ian, you know, are good friends for years. And like I said, I'm grateful to everything that happened and just all the connections they helped me with out of the whole Bad Boys conglomeration, you know what I mean? With all the artists across the world.
Now, let's go back a little bit to this character called Jermaine Paul.
Jermaine Paul, I met, this is a crazy story, to just keep it brief. I love you, brother, if you watch it on camera. Jermaine Paul's an artist that's associated originally with Alicia Keys and a guy named Crucial Keys. I was at the Billboard convention actually, where was I? Was I in LA or something like that? No, I think I was in Atlanta, wherever it was. I'm having lunch with you know, a lot of radio people and whatnot, you know, and so all of a sudden I hear a band playing and it's Jermaine Paul, and I went crazy. I went right up to the stage, interrupted the show, and said, "You're the next superstar." To make a long story short, because he was opening up all over the world, and it's just a tough business. We just became friends. He then went on to The Voice, even at the age of 32. He won The Voice. Then he signed with, you know, Universal Records as Monty Littman, and his brother Arnie Littman. They run Universal Republic. They have a lot of acts. So he signed with that, and it's been a rough go, but he's got a bunch of shows. And so I just think he's still a major talent. He could be like a Marvin Gaye and be like, sort of like Frank Sinatra, you know what I mean? Or anybody, Jackie Wilson would be a good example. And I gotta say something about that, because now that I just said Jackie Wilson, well, that's somebody, one of the CEOs I never talk about, Nat Tarnopol. That's the Genovese too, one of the 5 families, the Capo di Tutti Capi. The boss of all bosses in English that run the whole thing. And I know you got my father's third cousin, Fat Tony Salerno, on a picture somewhere. So, you know, the bottom line is, without me losing my train of thought, that's where Jackie Wilson came out. So many groups, bounce, rock, skate, and roll. There's so many songs, but that was, and I forgot my guy's name, Ray Hamilton. I used to deal with, and of course, Nat Tarnopol. He was connected big time, like Morris Levy, Henry Stone, you know, the real big CEOs that are legendary. And he taught me a lot. That was Brunswick Records. They had so many, the Shy Lights, okay? You know the group, the Shy Lights. You remember the song? That was a whole learning thing. And I mention that because, you know, there was a lot of people around Jermaine Paul, and I did my best. He's still my brother for life. I love you, brother. That's basically the skinny on that story.
A while back, when I had the original little studio, you brought an artist from Miami. His name is T-Baby. What's happening with him? I heard he's making some noise now.
Well, but that's another example where when I got hit by the hurricane, out of the blue, T-Baby Pyramids, which I know I sent you the screenshot. He's in Los Angeles, he's recording, he's making a lot of noise. This is a major talent who I taught the business, and he always respected me for that. And little do I know, I'm doing the GoFundMe because my house got hit by Hurricane Irma. He donates $500, and I haven't even talked to him. So I want to let you know, brother, I love you. I'm here. You know who I am. I trained you. There's pictures of him at one of the conventions with Teddy Taylor, me, him, and whoever else from way, way back. And so, like I said, he's in Los Angeles. God bless you, brother. He's just an example of the 100+ artists that, you know, I just educated and never really, I told him when he wanted to pay me, his money was no good. He couldn't pay me. He's such a kind human being. And the kid's a major talent and very big in social media. Anyway, T-Baby, peace, brother.
So down here, back in the day when you were with TK Records, tell me a little bit about that history.
Okay, that's just unbelievable. To tell you, King Sporty, and back then we didn't have iPhones and all that. But when I first started in '79 in the warehouse at Tone Distribution, which was part of the the complex, you follow me? The campus, where TK was next door. That's when I first met King Sporty and Betty Wright separately. Because she was with a guy named Steve Alamo, and she had 2 big hits in her life. I mean, mega hits. Clean Up Woman, and then 15 years later, No Pain, No Gain. So after a while, you know, like I said, King Sporty, by the way, wrote, he introduced me to Bob Marley. And the whole 9 yards. That's, like I said, he's intertwined with the whole reggae community, the Jamaican community, and everywhere else. He knows everybody. They know him. Example, like I said, Ian Lewis, I was talking about before, and Michael Sterling, etc. You can name anybody. He wrote Buffalo Soldier on a napkin with never filed the publishing, but the guy from Island Records, you know what I mean? And I don't want my mind to go blank. You know, he still paid him. He wrote it for Bob Marley. It's one of Marley's classic songs. So Sporty then was putting out a few records with Henry. And once he got with Betty Wright, they started dating and whatever. They lived on 35th Street where 99 Jams used to be, WEDR, in the deep part of Miami, you know what I mean? And I used to go over the house by myself because I was, you know, I knew in this business, Henry Stone taught me, you know, it doesn't matter what they're saying as long as they're talking about you, but always roll alone. You don't need a crowd. So I'd go alone. Betty'd be there. Sporty would be there. Of course, he was smoking, you know, with the Turkish tobacco and the pipe. He had a few of his real Rastafarian. His friends, I'd say hello to Betty. She'd make me something to eat. And so we just became really, really close friends. I went over the years at least a dozen times by myself. Sporty would keep me up all night. Then we'd go see Henry because he always wanted to promote a new record. And then with Betty, she used to call me Mr. Salerno. And the last time I was with her, I spent the whole night, because rest in peace to both of them. God bless both of them. They both, first King Sporty passed away from cancer, and she just passed like about a year ago. And we were very close. She called me Mr. Salerno. I sat with her the whole night. There was a little mini convention in Miami, you know, about, you know, how to break a record, because this is a breakout market. It's the #1 breakout market in the world, all of South Florida, going up through Atlanta. And I got to think of Scotty Andrews, if he 103 in Atlanta, God rest his soul, because I do want to mention the big programs I used to deal with. But anyway, so that's the story. Yeah, it was very personal with Betty Wright and with King Sporty, and I saw what a beautiful relationship they had on a personal tip, put aside the music business, you know what I mean?
And going back to TK again, we're just talking about Bobby Caldwell.
Yeah, Bobby Caldwell, I get a phone call. The first person that told me he passed away a couple of days ago was, believe it or not, my childhood sweetheart. This is hard. If I cry, I can't help it. But obviously, look, we parted ways when I left, the Boston area to come to Miami. I was actually out of reach, as they say, in Delray Beach to start with. My father had a few condos there, That's a whole nother story, but now that I brought it up, hey, he got banned from Massachusetts for a reason, because he was, locked in. You know what I mean? With one of the five families, the whole 9 yards. So the gambling and all the whole 9 yards. That's how I got black music, because I used to run numbers. So as you were just telling me, you mentioned about Bobby Caldwell. I ended up, after I swept in the warehouse and did shipping, Linda Stone named me the promotion director, which was a big distribution company, Tone Distribution. That's Linda Stone, Henry Stone's daughter. January 15th, 1980. I'll never forget it, because that's when my life changed. All the records were coming in. One of the first records was Kano's I'm Ready. So then, of course, I'm working all the records. Timmy Thomas, Jimmy Bohorn, you can go down the list. Ray Martinez, Amant. There's just so many groups, and we will go all over them. I do want to do a TK Memories thing, and God bless you, Ray Caviano, because he was really working with Henry as the national promotions director. So Bobby and I became very, very close friends, And I get a phone call. This is new. He just passed away, too young, in his early 70s. You follow me? Him and I, went on tour. Who did I go on tour with at the time? My ex-childhood sweetheart. She came to Florida to visit with her friend. And we went all over the state of Florida into Georgia with Bobby Caldwell. So those two hit it off really good. Of course, back then we were doing all the unscrupulous things. And from that day forward, Bobby and I, like Jerry Russian said the other day on Facebook, he was an incredible human being. See, this is the point of everything. If you're a real person like me, I'm quadruple Italian, but I'm considered a brother. You keep it real. And this is personal, and Bobby, through all his ups and downs, he obviously had an enormous hit, What Can You Do for Love or whatever, and a few other great records. And he had a lot of people around him. And I'm just shocked he passed too young, but we were just very, very close friends. Anytime he needed anything, I would drop what I'm doing, and Bobby, I always had his back, period.
What about TTF via Homestead?
That's a whole nother, that story is one of the local legendary stories. That's a group, and I'll keep this brief. The guy's name is Willie Brown, the father, as I'm hearing something in the background, somebody calling me. They're from Homestead. The TTF stands for Today, Tomorrow, and Forever. I'll repeat it. TTF, Today, Tomorrow, and Forever. The father, Willie Brown, all the kids, really, most of them went to the University of Miami, had a big hit that I picked out. They were signed to RSO, which is, the gentleman that did Saturday Night Fever, just like I forgot the other executive on Island Records with King Sporty, the executive on RSO. They were signed to RSO. They're a local group, and we broke that on we broke that on a national scale. It's a whole long story, but it's an example of a local group that WEDR and everybody there at the time, obviously Jerry Russian and Jimmy Jean to Sweetback to Baby Huey, to George Boogie Jones, he was the program director, James T, Chico de Virgo. I mean, I could go on and on all day. I said Leo Jackson, I think. They took a shot, and then it broke nationally and made it in the top 10 on the R&B chart. So, that's just an example. And by the way, here's where label they were on. The person that did the deal was Marv Stewart. That's Curtis Mayfield's partner who came down, and here we go with another TK thing. I gave the gig. This guy, Tony Battaglia, came in, but most importantly, it was Corey Wade, who produced Peter Brown. That's another TK artist, Dance With Me, that Ray Caviano promoted. Like I said, he did a lot. He was like the right hand of Henry Stone. He was in New York City. He's still around today. He's doing the history of dance music. God bless you, Ray. But that's an example. Peter Brown, and he did like The Brightest Side of Darkness, Love Jones. Corey Wade was a famous producer. So I got him the gig. I convinced the Brown family to do it. And so he produced, and they had a few other records. And I ended up becoming good friends with Marv Stewart, who has many, many acts. And obviously that's Kurt Tom Records, which is him and Curtis Mayfield. I don't think I have to explain to anybody, how famous Curtis Mayfield is. I had the opportunity to meet him too. And, like I said, God bless Corey Wade. That's another thing I almost forgot, that was a big producer for everybody. And, obviously he produced all Peter Brown stuff for TK, and Peter Brown had one of the biggest dance records in history.